think it's time to introduce our interview with Mr. Cook. Would you like to say in a few words?
Yes, this is our interview with Lord Zippy. We were so happy to get him on the show. I love Toe Tag. I love the Accused AD. I love the Wicker Bar. Pretty much everything this man's done has been fantastic. And, he just continues to put out music and, again, hasn't lost an inch.
Blaine, we need some hot pepper drinks, please. Hot pepper cocktails. I got a freezer full of habaneros. Please, we appeal to your wisdom.
Without further ado,
this is the interview with Blaine. It's great. It's been many years since we conversed, Mr. Cook.
Yeah, well, I'm still here.
Me too.
Right. Some people would wish that wasn't the case, but unfortunately, like the ever ready.
Later on, we're going to play a game called Mark Holds Shit Up, and Blaine says, "Oh my God, I can't believe you have that." So be ready, because I've got a ton of shit.
Stay talking. I'll be the ghost of Toe Tag Future, and he'll be the accused ghost of past.
Ghost of past.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because Mark, of course, introduced me to you guys. I was completely blown away and I was listening to Paraquat. You guys haven't lost an inch at all. Where did that energy come from? Coffee or?
I don't know. I guess we just do our thing. I mean, that's pretty much it's paraquat is what it is. So paraquat was a chemical that in the 1970s the United States government went down into Mexico and South America, and they were spraying it on the marijuana fields down there as well as the poppy fields. And me being a little bit older, that was kind of like one of these urban myth things that you would get paraquat tainted marijuanas. I've smoked marijuana for a long time, but you'd get this paraquat tainted marijuana. And then later on, that same paraquat was also used. It's used as an herbicide. And if you happen to have a digital antenna at home and you watch a lot of these commercials from lawyers, there's, one of these new class action lawsuits about blah, 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 blah. So that's what, I mean, I think kind of like the music that we make now. Alex, I play Alex Maggot Brain, Alex Sebald as the guitar player for Toe Tag, and he was the bass player during the splatter rock era of the Accused, and he writes all the music. I think one of the things with what we do right now is we don't we kind of do this as kind of more for ourselves. So we're not necessarily, we don't have to pigeonhole ourselves into like writing like one style of music or one type of a song. So it's just kind of like whatever, we do some short, fast ones. We do some that are kind of stony, more Black Sabbathy.
Definitely.
I guess that's, I don't know. We try to retain, our youthful enthusiasm, as we move on into our golden years.
I'll tell you that paraquat stuff. I watched all the Narcos. I feel like I should know that,
Yeah.
I
don't think they cover that.
Either. Right?
Yeah. All that time watching Narcos, I should know these things,
And there's a couple other things. I think there was a couple of murders over in Japan where somebody used paraquat to kill somebody.
Wow.
It was kind of funny because we used to we've kind of lost our edge a little bit, so we're not like as funny as we used to be. But we used to just have a whole list of song titles that we'd come up with even before. So a lot of our songs, the title of the song has nothing to do with the lyrical content. That's just the name we gave it. And we've had the name Paraquat has been on the list for years. So, when we did that last recording, which is a couple of years ago now, and that was one of the songs, right? This one's song is going to be called Paraquat. And although I was able to do some research and kind of, made the lyrics relate somewhat to the name of the song.
Yeah, Witches of the 128th. I love the song, but that confused me a little too for the title.
Well, there is not too far from where I live. I live in West Seattle, and a couple of miles south on 128th. There was this family of these three women, and that lived in this house, and it would be, you could call them, they were feral, basically.
Wow.
And they lived And there's some story, about they got the house. It may have been bequeathed to them sometime in the 80s, because we'd actually check the tax records on the house, and you'd see the women. There was the oldest one, and she was literally dressed in rags. She would have like a couple, 3 or 4 overcoats on. Her feet were covered in plastic bags wrapped in tape, and she'd shuffle along on a walker. And then there was the middle one, and then there was the younger one, and the younger one may even have only like been into her mid to late 20s, maybe even her early 30s. And we just called them the witches of 128th. And the older one actually, she passed away maybe about a year and a half ago, and then the middle one and the younger one were still living in the house. And now the younger one I don't see, and I haven't seen the middle one around for a while. But you'd go to the grocery store, and you'd be behind these women. It's like, oh my, the stench was just like unbelievable.
So they were like,
I don't live. That neighborhood's a little bit farther away from where I am, but I'm sure that people that live down there, and literally with that house, and when you pull up the tax records, you can look at the plans of the house. It's just like this little box, and literally the house, the roof was covered in a tarp. The windows were all broken out, covered in cardboard. Whether or not they even had any electricity or water going to the house is, I don't know.
Probably
interesting story.
They were like homeless, but they had a home. It's really bizarre.
Something like that. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
Very Black Sabbath-y, witchy. I agree very much.
Yeah.
So, as well as that, you've also got me wanting to make cocktails. Tell me how the Wicker Bar started. I love that series.
That was kind of like my COVID project. Okay. Yeah. First I just started filming. A lot of people were doing that kind of stuff. So I just started filming goofy stuff in the house, and then I just started getting into these cocktails. So I went through all of our cookbooks and stuff, and I pulled out. It's like, God, my wife and I had a whole library of vintage cocktail books that we'd never gotten into. So then I just started accumulating all of those the ingredients needed to make those cocktails, and I had the space down in my basement, and I had the plywood, so I went ahead and I set up a little. So it's kind of like I have a little studio set down in my basement, and then I had the plans to build a bar, and then we were at an antique mall, and there was a bar that was like turned around, so it didn't look like it was a bar. It looked like it was a bookshelf, and on that particular day, everything was 25% off at this antique mall. It's like, well, I'm going to buy this, and then our nephew came over. He said, well, you should call it the Wicker Bar. So I'm not afraid to share other people's ideas of what I need to do, but that was a good one. So. Then I did it, and I put out a book just because it's kind of like being in a band, So, I put together a cocktail book and put that out on my own, and it's all for fun.
I like when you take a sip and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, well, because a lot of the cocktails that we do are they're considered like Prohibition era cocktails, so they're really, really, really booze heavy. And if you go through like some of the like the gin section, so many of the cocktails are very, very similar, but one just has a dash or a drop or something of some ingredients, and it's like some of them can be they're pretty strong. And back in the day, people that back in those days, even if you watch like Leave It to Beaver or anything like that, when they're going out to meet people for dinner, they don't meet till like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So it was kind of the whole social thing of going out at night was like really going out at night.
Yeah.
Unlike for me now, it's like I go out, it's like at 6 or 7 o'clock, and I hope that I'm home by 10.
That's how we are. Really.
Yeah. Same.
With very, very few exceptions. I did go out with our drummer Chris. It was his birthday on Wednesday, and we went out to see a band called Bewitcher from Portland, another band called Worm Witch from Vancouver, BC, and another band called Death Cave from here in Seattle. And I was a little punchy. On Thursday morning.
We're friends with Cody from Worm Witch. He's been on this show.
Okay, great band. It was a really great show, and that's
I wonder if somebody out there is saying, you know what, that cocktail guy's great, and I heard he does some music.
I bet.
Yeah. Well, intuitively, that's what you would think, and that's what like bands, they want to come to Seattle and they want to play with this because they think it's going to be a good show, and it's like things, they don't really work that way so much anymore. So you'd think that whatever, I'm like this icon and I'd have all these followers and I'd be making money off of YouTube, but no, I'm like anybody else. I get 20 or 30 people watching my videos every week or so, and that's fine because I'm just doing it to have fun.
It's kind of like, have you ever seen that video? It's on YouTube that Buzzo from the Melvins did, where he's shopping this giant mansion, and it's the real estate broker that sells mansions to all the big stars. And then it's time to pay, talk about payment, and he gets this little box and he's got all these magazine clippings because his currency is influence. I'm influential. There would be no Nirvana without me. It's hysterical. The lady storms out. It's great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a similar story about somebody else that I played music with that did something like that, but like really thought it was going to provide him with a new Mercedes or a BMW from a local dealer.
Really?
So, yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
It looked like for a while, at least a post from 2019, that you were still having issues with, it sounds like Voldemort, he who must not be named. Has that been resolved?
No.
Really?
That's never going to be resolved.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's most unfortunate because we stopped playing with them. That was like 16 or 17 years ago. And they, when you're in that situation, it was 3 guys that were playing with one guy, and we stopped playing with the one guy. So there was some problems with that one person. And when you're involved in relationships with people, especially when you're in a band, it's like, we're doing this to have fun, and it's not like we're getting paid 10 or 20 grand a night where that's fine, you're an asshole and I can be around you because I'm making so much money. But we're doing this to have fun, and if you're doing it with somebody and you're not having fun, then you're not going to do it. And that whole thing, and it still goes on now because he resents the fact that I don't know what he thinks because I'm not in communication with him, but we play the Accüsed songs now because people have asked us to do it. That's why we're doing it. We don't have a manager. We're not out soliciting or begging for shows. People, they contact us, they want us to do stuff. It's like, it's opportunity. You don't get presented with opportunity that often. And I'm not going to say, hey, I'm not going to do this because I don't want to offend this person. But if somebody's saying, hey, you guys want to do this? It's like, well, yeah, of course we do.
You've got the zeitgeist of the Accused. I was telling a friend of mine, we were talking about it the other day. I said, the Accused AD stuff and the toe tag stuff, it's kind of like when Bruce did Accident of Birth and Chemical Wedding. And you were like, this is almost better than Maiden. It's got all the right characters. It's, fuck Iron Maiden. And then, of course, Maiden came back and whatever. But that's kind of the way I view your stuff. It's like there's something about it. It's almost better than the original. I don't know.
And what you were saying earlier to me, to us, you are the Accused.
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, I've always said
you
that.
are.
I've always said that.
That's why I like to refer to it now as like what the splatter rock era is, and that's from the time that I joined the band, and then when we had Alex in the band, that's the time that people are most familiar with that music, and that's what He Who Shall Not Be Named has done is he's tried to cleanse the history that we weren't part of that. And he sent letters or contacted shows that we've done and where toe tag can't be billed as featuring ex or former members of the Accused.
Wow.
And then a few years ago, I think in like 2018, Lamb of God covered that the Accused song Inherit the Earth. Well, that's not a song that he wrote. I wrote those lyrics, and him and Alex wrote the music for that. But if you look at how it's credited now, he's taken all of the credit. So when one's taking all of the credit, one is, if there's any money to be paid out, he's taken all of that money, and it's kind of like it's a squirrely thing, and I don't burning bridges and losing friends and all of that. For 500 or $1,000, people say you guys are making money off this. It's like, dude, we're not making any money off of this. It costs money to do this. It costs money to
I think
fly somewhere.
He's reading from the book of Greg Ginn. Is what he's doing.
Yeah. There's not, it's just not like that. And and it's kind of sad. And it's unfortunate because Alex and myself, we've moved on, in our lives. I've been married. I've been with the same gal for 30 years. I bought a house a long time ago. I've had a business that's closed. I mean, we've all done stuff, and we've moved on. And the music is just kind of like, it's a side. It's the same as like, back in the 50s, guys went bowling or, sat around and played poker with their friends. This is what we do. We practice here in my basement. We jam two nights a week.
You got to live stream that.
we've done a couple of toe tag live streams.
Ooh,
that's cool.
Yeah, they're on YouTube. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do our first Mark hold shit up thing. You ready?
Okay. All right.
Hopefully you can see this.
Yeah, the Black Nasty.
Yeah, let's hear it. What do you have to say about it?
That was a lot of fun. That was kind of like right after we did like we tried to do a reunion thing with the Accused around that 91. No, I guess more like 92 or something like that. And that didn't pan out. Yeah. And at that same time, I was doing this thing called the Black Nasty. And there were just with some local friends of mine. Todd Thermo Ferkingstadt was the guitar player. Roy Whoopi Winston, who was in a Seattle band called Morpheus that we did a split single with, and then the bass player was Jerry Irwin, aka Jerry Rejector, who was in a punk band from Seattle called the Rejectors in the early '80s. And then Jerry brought along another guy, Brian Fritz, who ended up being the second guitar player. That was kind of like around the time when the whole grunge thing was happening, and I think we didn't do too many shows. I think we maybe only played like here in the city of Seattle, maybe once. There wasn't really, Blaine didn't hold a lot of weight, so I wasn't, we weren't getting any good shows or anything because I've got such a big ego. Yeah, and we're hopefully we're going to put that CD out. We're supposed to be putting that out on vinyl, so we're just just waiting to make that happen.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Sabbath because when that Accused AD album came out, I kept thinking I hear a lot of Sabbath in this record. I mean, it's it's as opposed to the old Accused, which not as prevalent, but definitely a lot of Sabbath in the Accused.
Like Sabbath and Saint Vitus and the Skull and more contemporary like the Sword.
Yeah, kind of doomy. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
A lot
that's our marijuana influence in there.
Like years of pot smoking, right?
Yeah, right.
With the demise of Zippy's Burgers, which we were sad to hear about, do you think you would do another restaurant/bar type venture? No. If the restaurant would have ended in such a way where we would have walked away with some money, I would. But I mean, right now, I'm at a point in my life where I can't. I have some money saved, and I can't. Bank on that just because I've got a whim to do something. And the whole economy and the workforce is really changed over the years. And that was one of the difficulties that we were having was getting people that were reliable to work. We had probably a good portion of our staff that they called out or didn't show up more often than they actually showed up for a shift. And the minimum wage here in Seattle, if you're not paying people at least $20 an hour, wow.
And kind of our vision was, when we started, we did everything that we could to really retain staff and make it as attractive for them as we could. But eventually, you're only bringing in so much money, and you can only put so much out.
Yeah, I know. I've been in the restaurant business myself, and it was so hard through, the pandemic, and they shut us down for inside seating, and for a while we were shut down. But it's like even the complex I work in now, like I work for a doctor's office, all the restaurants are gone. They're all
Yeah.
closed. And the last one closed exactly for what you said. They said they could not get help.
Yeah.
So we have
Yeah.
0 restaurants in our complex right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two are just gutted, you know.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah. And I think, when people go out to restaurants, I think they see this stuff on the news, but they're not putting two and two together. It's like when you go someplace, it's like, there's no magical place that restaurants go to buy their product from that's really less expensive than what you're buying for your home.
Right.
During the pandemic, I was having to order stuff through Amazon just because I couldn't get it through normal channels.
Yeah. Wow.
So going back to like Toe Tag and Accused AD, what are your most requested songs that people ask you to play?
Scared of the Dark by the Accused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people aren't really necessarily all that familiar with the toe tag material. We were doing that for so many years. We'd run into people that said we had no idea that you were even doing this,
Wow.
just because it's like the way information gets out these days is totally different. There's so many avenues that if you're not really synced up with what's hip and new, people just aren't even going to know that you're even doing it.
It's so crazy. I was playing, your stuff at the office, when we didn't have patients, and a couple of people came up to me and asked me what it was, like younger people, and they were like, "Oh my God, how were they not huge?" And I'm like, "They should have been. I can't explain it. They're great."
All right, I'm going to hold this up.
Okay. Yes.
Remember
See,
this
and that's
album? Yeah.
that's another one of those things that he who should not be named released a whole lot of product
Okay.
without sharing the dollars with everybody, and
Ah.
some of the stuff that we did. So the bake tapes was that was a bunch of master tapes that we had, and Jack and Dino, and I don't know if he invented this technique or whatever, but he came up with this technique where you'd put the tapes in an oven at a very, very low temperature, because as the master tapes, your quarter-inch, half-inch, 2-inch tape or whatever, as they get older, the magnetic iron oxide, whatever stuff, starts to come away from the tape itself. So he would put it in the oven, and it would kind of lock it onto there, so that at least you could get a couple of 2 or 3 more spins on it, if you needed to try to do some remastering or transfer to a different format.
I think he did invent it, because I used to spend hours reading his website. It was so fascinating. He would talk about the bands that would show up and they didn't have anything written, and just, the stories the man had and of course all the stuff with Nirvana and everything. Just, I always thought Jack Endino was, first of all, every time he's producing an album, I breathe like a sigh of relief, because I'm like, all right, it's going to kick ass, because Jack knows how to produce,
He does.
But the stories on that website, and about, read this before you're thinking about making an album. It's so great. It's probably still out there, but
Yeah. No, he's a great guy. He's the go-to person that even when we were doing the stuff with the farts, 20 some years ago, the last things we did, we work with Jack, and it's one of those things where he knows us and we know him. I don't know, but yeah, we've got a good relationship with him.
I was bugging him when he was doing that album with High on Fire, because I couldn't wait to hear it. And he would tease me. He would say, "Look, Farfisa, Oregon," and I'm like, "I gotta know, what are you doing with Matt?" And then there's going to be an organ on a High on Fire. Anyway, so yeah, but yeah, Jack Endino, big Jack Endino fan.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to play our game?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So I have a game. It's called Really Random Questions.
Okay.
I guess we'll use this. So I have questions 1 through 85. So I want you to pick 5 numbers, and they'll correspond to questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do 43, 13, 29, 63, 71.
All right, I think that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Okay, we're
That's
good.
fine.
71. Okay.
So let's see. I don't know, this is this one because these are different ones, right?
Yep.
Number 43. What criticism of you would your friends most likely bring up?
Um, I don't know. They don't bring up their criticisms of me in person. They talk about that when I've left the room.
Well, that's not a bad thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
The most popular answer
I'm
to that is that I'm not like I used to be when I was younger, that I'm not willing to go out and stay out late. And we get a lot of that as a response to that.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm definitely not. I mean, if I was the way that I was when I was younger, I wouldn't be alive. I'd be in jail, or I'd have AIDS or herpes or something like that.
I have
All
this
around,
I have this
not be
friend
very
that
good thing.
whenever I tell a story about like when we went to Lollapalooza or whatever, he'll be like, "What, the fun mark? Are we talking about the fun mark?" And I'm like, "Fuck off, okay. I'm 51 years old. Give me a break, all right?"
Yeah.
All right,
Anyway.
number 13. If you were a kind of cheese, what kind of cheese would you be?
White cheddar.
Aged perfectly.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
a nice white cheddar. Probably one from an Irish, one from Ireland.
Maybe a little sharp, huh?
Yeah, just a bit. I can be. My wife will attest to that.
Number 29. What flat screen size is too big in your opinion?
Well, actually, we have a projector, so
okay.
our flat screen TV is about I don't know, 8 feet wide
Wow. So there is none.
by 4 feet tall. So I just can't believe we were at the Walmart over the weekend, and God, you get a 63-inch flat screen TV for $298. It's just like fucking insane. And even if the thing only lasts 2 years, it's like, whoa.
I know. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. All right, so we're up to number, let's see, 63. If roses are red, why are violets blue?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Mother Nature about that one.
Have to go back to the maker, the artist.
Yeah.
Number 71. What is the first record or CD that you bought yourself?
Ooh, the first record that I bought for myself. It might have been Kiss Alive. No, Kiss Alive 2, no. Destroyer, uh, Ted Nugent, Cat Scratch Fever, something there. I couldn't tell you what the exact.
It's in the
That was-
77, 78 kind of era there. Something
Yeah,
like
that was a long time ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably 70, 77.
That's awesome.
So I wanted to tell you, I've always wanted to do a show called "This is the Worst Music I've Ever Heard," right? And the reason why is because The Accused, along with many other records that I cherish upstairs, I ran out and bought because I read a review that said, "This is the worst music ever made." It was for it was for Martha Splatterhead. It was for the first one. I remember being at work and reading that and being like, "I'm buying this today." Because that's the way to get me. Say it's the worst thing ever. I mean, I could rattle off a list, but yeah, you guys are definitely one that couldn't believe that anyone didn't like it, and yet the draw was the worst music I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So do you see a future like of younger bands kind of with the splattercore type thing, like that were influenced by you guys coming up?
Most definitely. I mean, like, a band like Municipal Waste. I mean, they're fans of ours. I mean, that whole crossover thing has become something different. It's now called crossover, but it's not. You're really not crossing over with anything. But I mean,
Right.
I think there's a whole movement that's probably been going on for maybe the past 15 years or so of people that are into that. The DRI, the cryptic slaughter, the corrosion of conformity, all of that really really early stuff. yeah, we're having an opportunity. We prefer to play with younger bands because they still like to party a little bit, and so do we. But there's a band that we played with from Portland called Chaotic Injustice. And these guys, they completely embrace. I mean, they've all just turned 21, and they just completely embrace that 1980s thing. God, we smoke more weed. We smoke more weed than anybody down in Portland. It's like, yeah, okay, well, all right, guys. And they got the fanny bags on, and they've got the old camcorder, and the whole thing with there's like this resurgence of cassette tapes.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's putting out a cassette now. I don't know. I'm just hoping it kind of goes back to where people are more into like something that they can touch, versus all this stuff that's on digital that is really, really fleeting, and you don't really own it, and you can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Zombie apocalypse happens. You're not going to be able to listen to it.
Right. You're gonna need some batteries, a little close and play record player. You can put your 33s on there and make it happen.
What was the process for picking? Because you always have like the way you had Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, and the way you had Devil Woman. Like, what was there like a list of 60s and 70s covers, and then you pick the best one, or what was the process? I mean,
it's usually just one that I think Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. It was just one that we just started playing at practice for some reason. Somebody just started playing it, and it's like, all right, let's learn that one. Devil Woman, way back when, that was a girlfriend of mine at that point in time that wanted us to do that one. Green Eyed Lady. I mean, it's just one that we just there's no major process in anything.
That's awesome.
We do.
Awesome. We used to play that 10 years after cover. You used to do I'd Love to Change the World. I used to play that at the end of beer parties to get people to fucking leave. I would be like, this song is going to be on repeat until you all leave.
Oh, our version, or the 10 years after?
No, your version. Yeah, with you screaming the paint off the walls. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it worked too. I would see people go, what? And then they'd be gone. Yeah. So that, and if that didn't work, we'd pull the shags out, and that always cleared the room.
You're not planning a show like December 4th or 5th, are you?
In Seattle? No, I think we're playing December 10th. It's here in Seattle.
So we have to go out there for a business trip. So
we're only going to be there like one night, though.
Yeah. So
what night?
The 4th.
The 4th. Yeah. We'll be out.
What day is that? Friday.
It's Sunday into Monday. Yeah. So.
Oh, well, if you're still, are you leaving on the Monday or Tuesday?
We're leaving. We're flying in Sunday night, and then
you have to work.
I have to work in the morning, and then after work, we're driving down to Eugene. So yeah,
that's a hoof.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
oh, shoot.
I know.
Against hope.
It never works out. I've given up on trying to make these business trips into a rock and roll thing.
Baltimore. So I guess we'll have to catch a live stream or the next time we happen to be in Seattle. Plan it better.
Yep.
You have more things over there?
I'm just hold up one more. And again, I don't know if you were involved in this or if it was the other, but.
Oh yeah, that's what is that Fast Zombies Rule that's on that one? Yeah. Split. No, I think I was kind of involved with that one. That one had, I think, Jason Potbelly, the guy that's in Potbelly. He's very involved in the scene, and he's always putting out records. So I know we did. That originally came out when we were still together, and then he wanted to he re-released it with a different cover. I think that might be the second cover. I think the first cover is just black and white art.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Potbelly.
Well, I'm a newer fan. He's been a fan obviously a long time, but you guys really nail it every time. So
thank you.
Hopefully we'll catch you guys at some point. I'd love to see you guys.
Yeah, some East Coast tour would be great. Philly or Baltimore will be there. Yeah.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.